Welcome to the Tyler Werner Show, discussing all the latest in Philadelphia sports.
I just felt comfortable, confident and comfortable.
The 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, struck him out!
Man, I love y'all. I hope y'all keep trusting the process.
Look at this score!
And now, here's Tyler Werner.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tyler Werner Show. After a solid Eagles win that perhaps could have been more of a blowout, had a couple critical mistakes not happen, but Eagles get the much-needed win and essentially stay alive as we're coming down the pike here in the 2018 NFL season, year 3 of Carson Wentz, Doug Peterson, and now we got Dallas Cowboys Week Part 2. A chance for the Philadelphia Eagles to, once again stay alive, I guess, and get a win against this Dallas Cowboys team that the Eagles really dropped the ball against previously at a time when the Cowboys weren't really looking that good. They're looking like a team that the Eagles should have beaten here at Lincoln Financial Field at the time. But that was also the time still where the Eagles, we weren't too sure what they are. Now the Eagles, they put together a couple of wins, and then, with some obvious secondary injuries and lacking players, but now they put together a solid win, albeit with Colt McCoy and Mark Sanchez under center, pretty much. This Redskins team, is pretty much. Here they are at 6-6 now, and it's an uphill battle for them in the wild card picture. But now we see an Eagles team that is very much in the wild card race. Maybe, I don't know what the chances are of pulling out this division, even if the Eagles do beat the Cowboys and even both records at 7-5. Let's face it, the Cowboys, they have a favorable schedule down the stretch here. Now they do take on the Colts, who had won 5 in a row. Had is the key word. More on that later. The top 5 thoughts around the NFL in this past week. But the Eagles, they have this tough schedule down the stretch, noticeably tougher. Aside from the Cowboys, are they going to be able to maybe squeak out an upset over either the Los Angeles Rams over in Los Angeles last year, where Carson Wentz went down with the season-ending injury that we all remember like it was yesterday? Are the Eagles going to be able to maybe pull off an upset against a Houston Texans team that hasn't lost since week 3? Because that's really what we're looking at, I think. This Eagles team, can they go down to Dallas this week after the big win that the Cowboys were able to achieve against New Orleans? Maybe they just caught New Orleans at the perfect time. Because this is a New Orleans Saints team that has been consistently scoring and scoring and scoring. And I like to think, 4 times out of 5 on a neutral field, the Saints defeat the Dallas Cowboys. Even with the Dallas Cowboys winning their last 4. But, having said that, I feel like this is a perfect week, a perfect opportunity now for the Philadelphia Eagles after this Dallas Cowboys win over New Orleans. Maybe is this the perfect time for the Eagles to catch the Dallas Cowboys off guard? And I'm not saying, put up 30-plus points or whatever and blow the Cowboys out, shut them down, absolutely. But just an opportunity for the Eagles to do enough to win. And to take that 4-game winning streak that the Cowboys have had, this big win that they had over New Orleans. I mean, Michael Irvin, I believe, was on the sideline. He was, look how hyped he was. Look how hyped this team looked. Dak Prescott, oh my God. Jerry Jones up in the box. Is this not, I mean, if you in Philadelphia, is this not the perfect opportunity for the Eagles in a revenge situation to go down to Dallas and take care of business? Isn't it? Is it not the perfect opportunity for the Philadelphia Eagles to go down in there and take care of business and win this game? I think it is.
I agree.
This win over the Redskins, I mean, again, it was who it was. I mean, this Eagles team, they came out right from the get-go. I mean, you could tell there was energy. They were playing on like a razor's edge. Guys were hyped. I mean, Michael Bennett went in for a sack, and he was hyped. And it was one of those games where it's like, all right, the Eagles, this is a little more like how they're supposed to be. It was a game they should have won, frankly. I mean, Colt McCoy was out there. He was 4 for 4 in his completions, and then the leg injury out for the game. And Adrian Peterson, I mean, all he had was that big run, which, of course, there was a very bad missed call on it, and it resulted in a touchdown. And at that point, I'm thinking, all right, you know what, the Eagles should not be down like this at this point. They'll turn it around, and sure enough, they did, and they took it from there. And in the second half, they shut down the Washington Redskins. In the fourth quarter, they finished it out. 28-13 win. And frankly, the Eagles left points on the board. Carson Wentz threw that interception in the red zone, and right when the Eagles were maybe about to get another touchdown. But that hasn't happened since his rookie year. I believe that was the stat. Before we get too crazy over that, it's going to happen once in a while. So I look at this game and I look at some other drives, and I think the Eagles, they could have very well scored over 40, and they really could have blown the doors off the Redskins. And let's face it, when they get them final game of the season, the Redskins may not be playing for anything, and of course, they may very well have Mark Sanchez under center to start that game. So all right, you check that Eagles 6-6. All right, so maybe you check that final game off as a win. The Eagles, can they make it 3 in a row here? Can they look at the tape, or the game is tomorrow, so. But have they been looking at the tape? Have they been breaking it down and figuring out last game what went wrong and how to exploit the Cowboys maybe a little bit? I mean, this Cowboys defense that is really starting to, round into form, it seems. And last time Ezekiel Elliott burned the Eagles and was a key to that win for the Cowboys over the Eagles last time. So they're going to be a way to minimize him a little bit. and not have him, bust out a 90-yard run for a touchdown or whatever it was, and hope that there wasn't a missed holding call or something on the play. If the Eagles can, all right, if they can, that's 8 wins. And then, as I've said, they have to pull off an upset over either the Texans or the Rams on the road. And some people are saying, Carson Wentz went down in Los Angeles. That's where he's going to come out, and he might be at. Well, we'll wait and see, because the Rams can really score. So, remains to be seen if the Eagles can, on defense, will be able to hold the Rams in that game. And then there's the case against the Texans where, let's say the Texans have won again this week. Texans this week, let's see, the Texans this week, who do they? All right, they host the Colts. They should be able to win that game. You would think. I mean, Colts really dropped the ball this past week. And then the Colts on the road against the Jets, they should win that. So maybe by that point, I mean, the Texans have won 11 straight at that point when they come to face the Philadelphia Eagles at Lincoln Financial Field. And, all right, let's say the Eagles, they defeat the Cowboys, lose to the Rams. They're in a must-win situation over the Houston Texans at that point. Wow, the Texans will have won 11 straight games. Now, is that not the perfect opportunity? Kind of like what we saw with the Dallas Cowboys and what happened against the Saints, where the Saints had won 10 straight games, and they have kind of a clunker. It's one of those things where they due for a loss. Could that maybe end up being the case against the Texans? Now, if the Eagles beat the Rams, it's going to be hard to expect that. If they upset the Rams, it's going to be hard to expect the Eagles the next week to also upset the Houston Texans. I can't sit here and say they're going to win both of those games. But there's an opportunity, and it starts against the Cowboys here. It starts with this Eagles team not getting swept by the Dallas Cowboys. Because if they lose this one to the Cowboys, it very well may mean the end of the season. This game, I mean, this is the game right here. This is it. Eagles basically kind of in another must-win situation. Like I said, the Cowboys, even if the Eagles, both teams are 7-5 after this week, Cowboys may still have the edge in the division race. Given their easier schedule. And then after that, maybe it would come down to common opponents, yada yada. Division record, if they will have split. But I mean, the Cowboys win this game. They're 8-5. Eagles are 6-7. That's a huge swing. Stick a fork in any possible division win at that point. And also at the same time, that then makes your odds to get a wild card spot slim to none. Let's put it that way. The wild card picture right now, of course, features the Seahawks at 7-5 in the driver's seat for the 5th seed. And then, of course, in the 6th seed at this moment, you have the Minnesota Vikings, who are 6-5-1. Now, huge game coming up when the Vikings play Seattle in Seattle. Then you got the Panthers at 6-6, who have lost 4 straight, and they're looking like a mess at this point. They were 6-2 once upon a time, and the Eagles did lose to them. But the Panthers now they're sputtering, and they're looking like they might not be a factor down the stretch here in getting a wild card spot. And then, of course, okay, so other than that team that I guess is, quote unquote in the hunt, who else do you have? Well, you have the Eagles and the Redskins. But then again, like the Panthers, are the Redskins really, do they really have a chance?
No.
I mean, especially I guess now with Mark Sanchez as their starter, who they only picked up like leading up to Thanksgiving, when they knew Colt McCoy now was the starter and they needed another backup. Whew, it's not looking too good for the Redskins. And then besides that, I mean, a very slim to none chance. You got the Buccaneers at 5-7. That's pretty much it, folks. So the Eagles, and look at it this way too: if the Seahawks defeat the Vikings, they're 6-5-1 right now. Their chances drop, especially if the Eagles take care of business. That Vikings, that's Monday Night Football this week too, by the way. Vikings on the road against the Seahawks. They host the Dolphins after that. On the road against the Lions. And final game of the season, hosting the Chicago Bears. So there you go. I mean, there very well might be 2 more losses left on the schedule for the Vikings. And if that be the case, 8-7-1 for the Vikings. That's not going to. The Eagles finish 9-7. That's not going to be good enough. But see, that's the thing. Then you have that tie. If the Eagles finish 8-8. Vikings are 8-7-1. Then SOL for the Philadelphia Eagles. That's why, again, you got to finish 9-7 to be absolutely sure that they're in the playoffs. You get a wild card spot. Seahawks, meanwhile, their schedule. Okay, so they have the Vikings, as I just mentioned, on the road against the Niners, hosting the Chiefs, and then hosting the Cardinals final week of the season. So they should finish 9-7, even if they go 2-2 here. Even if they go 2-2 down the stretch here, they're 9-7, good enough for a wild card. They have the Chiefs at home. I mean, they could catch them in a good spot there and beat them. And they could finish 10-6. I mean, if they beat the Vikings, they could very well finish 10-6. And should most likely have that top wild card spot. I could be wrong, but, we'll see. So that's really what we're looking at here for the Philadelphia Eagles. Like I said, I was kind of discussing, can they finish down the stretch here with these last several games with only 1 loss? Because they finish 9-7, as I just laid it out. That should be good enough for a wild card spot. That's real. Can they do it?
Don't know.
Man. Like I said, this game against the Cowboys will tell a lot. Revenge situation for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think it's got to get done. They got to go down there. They got to take care of business. Because if not, we're going to hear all these cowboy weasels in this Philadelphia area who have probably no real connection to the Dallas Cowboys, and they're going to rub it in. And it's going to be saying, oh, well, you haven't you haven't sniffed a Super Bowl in how many years? It's going around in circles. But I'm not worried about, I'm just worried about the Eagles staying alive and getting in the playoffs. So let's see what they can go down there and do. It's the Tyler Werner Show. We're going to take a quick break here and come back with more. Of course, the always interesting 76ers and I guess Markelle Fultz saga that's had its twists and turns the last few weeks for sure. Flyers, new general manager, have an uphill battle in the Eastern Conference in the Metropolitan Division. However, we'll discuss that and more right here on the Tyler Werner Show. Stay tuned for more after this.
Okay, Rocco, pretend I'm the girl that you want to ask out on a date.
How about maybe you and I, maybe we go out together, get something to eat, I don't know, maybe laugh a little bit, who knows, I don't know, would you like to maybe, you want me to go out together? What do you think? Would you like to?
You need to make more eye contact, and you sound way too nervous.
You want to hear me say it? You want to break me down? All right, I'm afraid. For the first time in my life, I'm afraid.
Having a tough time asking out ladies? You need to see Clubber Lang for a lesson.
Hey, woman. Hey, woman. I bet you stay up late every night dreaming you had a real man, don't you? I tell you what, bring your pretty little self over to my apartment tonight, and I'll show you a real man.
Build confidence with the ladies like never before with Clubber Lang's dating services. The most highly recommended in all of the Delaware Valley.
I am ranked number one. That means I'm the best.
Investigators are calling it the heist of the century. The grand robbery of Brady and Belichick's slow-cooked Italian meatballs, committed by some apparently hungry NFL officials who love their balls.
When I came in Monday morning, I was shocked to learn of the news reports about the balls and the process that happened between when they were prepared and went to the officials and went to the game.
As shocked as Belichick was of the news, perhaps Brady, the last man out of the kitchen on that Sunday night, was even more shocked to hear of the news of the theft.
I have a process that I go through. It was the same process that I always go through. When I felt them, they were perfect. I wouldn't want anyone touching those. I would zip those things up and lock them away, and that's what I thought I was doing.
As Brady and Belichick up the ante on their ball security, you'll just have to pick up a pack of their meatballs the next time you hit the grocery store and enjoy just how perfect these balls really are.
Tom's personal preferences on his ball security are something that he can talk about in much better detail than I could possibly provide.
All right, we're back on the Tyler Werner Show and what has been a seasonably chillier stretch of early December here than what we're used to, I would say. Lows around here in the Berks County area down in the low 20s. Really, consistently, too. All week, pretty consistent. Lower temperatures than what we're used to, and it makes for a chillier Christmas season or holiday season right now.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So those may be dreaming of a white Christmas may very well get their wish. We haven't had snow at all lately. It's been avoiding that since our first snowfall in November, but we'll see what happens down the stretch here. Philadelphia Eagles going down to Dallas. Meanwhile, in Sixerville, we've been continuing to monitor this Philadelphia 76ers Markelle Fultz situation. He's been seeing the specialists and yada yada, and I gotta admit, maybe I was wrong. Maybe many of us were wrong. In that Markelle Fultz, now set to miss the next 3 to 6 weeks. It's not mental. It's not something in the head. It's thoracic out. I can't even say it. But then again, who really heard of this? Basically, the nerves connected in the spine, in the shoulder area. It's been affecting him between the neck and the shoulder, resulting in the abnormal functional movement and range of motion. Is now, I guess that's now the case, that we have more of an answer. Isn't that kind of a good thing?
Hallelujah!
But see, this is where things get interesting to me. Because if it's not mental, if this is something, all right, he's got this syndrome, now it's determined what's wrong. So if the doctors now can do this, now all these specialists have been seen, and now that there's this rehab process, at 20 years old, okay, is this not something now that Markelle Fultz rehab and then come out of rehab and start to turn this, this what's looking like a bust rookie career? Can he not come out of this and maybe be more like the player that we're hoping to? Or is this just like something where it's not going to matter? Where his jump shot's going to suffer even after rehabilitation? I don't know. Like, what's the ratio here of physical versus mental? Well, if this is what it is here, now that there's an answer, isn't this kind of like a blessing in disguise? Isn't this like a weight off Markelle's shoulder? Because now you can listen to this, this isn't something mental. This is something now where rehab, hopefully the nerves, down the stretch here, something he can rehab maybe and forget about all this mental stuff. Maybe forget about needing a fresh start somewhere else. Because if it's something physical, you rehab, you get out there and play. And see what you're made of then. Hopefully without any. Because also we were hearing about this wrist situation too. And now it's like no. Like that doesn't amount to a hill of beans now that we know that maybe it's been more of this thoracic outlet syndrome or thoracic. I don't know. I can't. Maybe I can't even. Maybe I'm not even saying it right either way, no matter how I say it. But the nerve situation here. See, I look at this and I say, well, let's treat this with physical therapy and everything, and let's see what he's capable of thereafter. I don't know, unless they think his values can be absolutely shot or what. I don't know. Like if they want to trade him now and figure, he'll be good for another team and he'll be healthy for them or whatever. But that, listen, you drafted a number one, and if this is now something physical, if the specialists they nailed it right on the head, then hey, forget all this mental stuff. Forget about maybe needing a fresh start. Let's see how he comes out of this down the stretch. Hopefully making a full recovery. Let's see if he can be the guy that we need him to be for the 76ers. That the Sixers need him to be. Because look, the Jimmy Butler addition, now in conjunction with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, it's great. It's nice. However, it wasn't great or nice enough to beat the Toronto Raptors the other night. Let's face it, the Kingpins right now in the Eastern Conference. Now, if maybe Fultz can come out of this and he can be what the Sixers need, what he was kind of supposed to be, or what we were hoping for him to be, however you want to word it. Maybe the Sixers are right there then with the Raptors. Maybe they can be better with him. Maybe they can be better than the Raptors if Fultz comes along the way he's supposed to be. But that's a bridge that we'll have to cross down the stretch here. Because now, at least to me, because now it's like, all right, well, the Sixers, it's kind of their duty, at least to me. If this is something, if it was something physical all along, at least the catalyst to this whole thing, if there was any kind of mental situation, well, it was really caused by something physical, not something in the brain. Now you can forget about all this mental, all about this. Oh, maybe I need, maybe Markelle needs a fresh start. Maybe the Sixers can trade him. Well, maybe they could, but I don't think that's right now. I think now it's like it's their. Now that the specialists have figured it out and everything. Now that we all know, I want to see what Fultz is capable of. I want to see this full recovery. I want to see after these 3 to 6 weeks when he's ready to go. I want to see what he's made of. I think we should all be thinking the same thing. Let's see what he's made of. That's the way I put it. And then if he's still if he's still looking like a bust, then fine. Then trade him. Then give him a fresh start. Because I was in favor. I mean, I was kind of getting there too. Like if he needs a fresh start somewhere else, and it's like, yeah. If he's saying it, then I say it too. But now the game's changed with this coming out, because it was looking like this mental. That's what we were all speculating. Fultz, his agent, they were looking for answers, and they got them. And I think I think they, why wouldn't they be happy with the answer? That it's not something in the head. That the specialist found what the real problem has been. That it is something with the shoulder. Even though they were kind of, I don't know, little beating around the bush about it around Thanksgiving week. When it took them they were going to wait almost a week to, like, if it was, I don't know. But again, that's where the whole narrative of the mental situation came into play, and at the time it was viable then, but now now, rehab this shoulder, this nerve situation. And then I say, go get him, Tiger. Show us what you're made of after that.
Hoo-ah!
That's right. So time will tell. That won't be until sometime, perhaps in January. See, I don't know. We'll see. It remains to be seen. Sometime in January, maybe into February, we'll see Markelle Fultz back out there, hopefully, and hopefully he can maybe evolve, get more experience with this 76ers lineup. So we roll through Sixers, of course, with a pretty nice win last night over the Pistons. Jimmy Butler, I mean, he was getting fired up and was taking an elbow to the face, and of course you're going to see Butler get fired up over that. Interesting game up there in Detroit. Blake Griffin and Butler almost butting heads in that game and getting into almost a scrap, but fortunately it didn't happen. But yeah, again, like I said, the other night when it came down to when they had that measuring stick game against the Toronto Raptors, the Sixers just didn't quite have enough in that situation. Now last night, Raptors kind of laid an egg on the road against the Brooklyn Nets in overtime, who basically have the opposite of the Sixers record. Sixers at 18-9, Brooklyn Nets only at 9-18. But Sixers again, right now in third place. I mean, they've played 3 more games in the Bucks as of this recording of the Tyler Werner Show, but same winning percentage. I mean, but they're right there. They're right there. Meanwhile, the Celtics, who were at 5-0, now they won 4 straight, and I would speculate down the stretch of the season, they're going to turn it on a little later in the year, like they normally. I mean, look what happened last year. Look how well they played down the stretch. The Sixers falling victim to them in the playoffs. So there's still a lot of season yet to be played. But again, the Raptors right now, in spite of a disappointing loss to the Nets, they are the class of the Eastern Conference, the kingpins in the East, if you will. All right, so, it's almost already time for our second break here in the Tyler Werner Show. I just mentioned quickly the Flyers, of course, hiring Chuck Fletcher. Of course, Flyers president Paul Holmgren said that they are proud to have Chuck Fletcher as the new general manager of our hockey club. Throughout his career, he has helped shape teams that have consistently competed in the playoffs. In addition, Chuck's tireless work ethic, wealth of knowledge, and experience in the hockey community will be instrumental in leading our team into the future. Of course, last 9 seasons with the Minnesota Wild. All right, so, all right, yeah. Hey, not an ex-Flyer, right? We'll see. We'll see how. I don't know. We'll see if this makes a monumental difference. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still Paul Holmgren's operation. It seems, even though he used to be the general manager, and I don't know, was kind of fired from that. I guess he was kind of fired and yet promoted, if that makes sense. I don't know, but so that's really that right now. Philadelphia Flyers. It's weird because, I mean, if you look at it, they're like a 500 team, 12-12-3. Since I guess overtime losses, you kind of treat those as ties in a way, at least how you would used to treat ties. So here they are, like a 500 team, and yet they're tied for second to last pretty much in the Eastern Conference. So I don't know, it's a little confusing. If that but that's really it. I mean, the Devils right there behind Devils are the worst team in the Metropolitan Division, worst team in the Eastern Conference at 10-12-5. Flyers 12-12-3 on the season. Good for 27 points right now. So they're like a 500 team, and yet they're like at the very bottom almost of the Eastern Conference. Very, very strange indeed. Very, strange that you can be like a 500 team and yet that far down in the standings in your division and in the Eastern Conference in general. But Flyers, I don't know. Can they break out of that? Maybe make a good deal. Maybe can some of these new faces in the Flyers organization that are coming up make a difference. I don't know. It's nevertheless, it's not looking the best for the Flyers this year. Maybe making the playoffs, because you make the playoffs, hey, you win. Anything's possible, but I don't know. I'm not sure what to make of this this new Flyers general manager and the Flyers in general right now. Then again, what else is new? So Tyler Werner Show, we're going to take our next break right here. We'll get back to you with more right here on the Tyler Werner Show on this chilly December edition, Cowboys Week number 2 for the 2018 NFL season for the Philadelphia Eagles. Stay tuned for more.
It's no big news flash that many people, you included, eat as a way to medicate themselves. You can choose to worry about it or not. You can choose to panic about your situation or not. It's clear what you must do in order to make important changes.
5 letters here. RELAX. Relax. We're going to be okay.
In order for you ever to effectively figure out and map how to get to where you want to go, you have to first know exactly where you are starting.
RELAX. Relax.
You have to be willing to change what you're doing. You can change your behavior.
Oh God, ease our suffering in this our moment of great despair.
Are you and your family in a time of suffering? Or maybe you're suffering alone? Maybe you just don't know where to turn to, but now you have an answer.
You give God some of you, and He'll give some of Himself.
The wise words of Tilton Talk will guide you on your way. Every weekday from 10 to 11 a.m. on Repentance Network.
Oh, hallelujah! Come on, everybody shout with me. Hallelujah! Hallelujah!
Tune in to Tilton Talk every weekday morning from 10 to 11 a.m. and soon you'll be shouting hallelujah.
He's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we could ask or think.
Yes, yes. And will we be shouting hallelujah after the Eagles go down and take on the Dallas Cowboys? We'll be shouting hallelujah after this very critical Week 13 matchup. No, Week 14 it'll be. Game 13 of the season. It'll be interesting to see. Very much so. Like I said, a perfect opportunity for the Eagles in a revenge situation. Now with a decent, I know it was a win over the Redskins that had Mark Sanchez out there for the majority of the game. And once they got up on the Redskins and, basically kind of made it hard for the Redskins to run the football, then basically they're relying on Mark Sanchez to pull them out of that one. Of course, that didn't happen. So, but nevertheless, a chance for the Eagles after the win the week before against the Giants. A chance for the Philadelphia Eagles to, rally around that win and, go down and take care of business. Chiefing the build off of that win over the Redskins. I think, and again, an opportunity, Cowboys team, they just beat the Saints. Oh, man, suddenly, it was like wasn't it the most watched Thursday night football game in years or whatever it was? What? Oh, man. Michael Irvin out there. Dak Prescott screaming over the win. And isn't it the perfect chance for the Eagles to remind the Cowboys, hey, we're still here. And we've had our losses this season. We've had our injuries. We've had our very questionable performances, without a doubt. But we still do have a Super Bowl pedigree. And we're out here to prove it. I don't know if that's what really goes through the heads of the minds of these players, but I can't help but think that the Eagles, they got to be hungry in this situation, and it's a perfect chance for the Eagles to hand a Dallas Cowboys team a loss. Might not be high scoring. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe somewhere around, 23-20. But look, listen. I mean, we see Josh Adams. They're relying on him in the running game as the primary back. We saw Darren Sproles. It was nice to see Darren Sproles out there. I mean, like once Sproles got his touch, I'm like, all right, this game's got to be over. Even though it was still close at that time, it's like that's got to be a big momentum swinger for the Eagles. A big touchdown to build off of. Vintage Darren Sproles. Here in what I think many of us can speculate is his last year here in the NFL. Clement had a couple nice runs, a couple nice plays. Zach Ertz, again, he continues to do his damage in the air. Very well, probably going to surpass Jason Witten's tight end reception record in a season. Golden Tate, this was kind of a bit of a coming out game for him. Of course, doing the worm after his touchdown.
Gosh, it went great.
So yeah, a little coming out party for Golden Tate, making plays, yards after the catch. That's what he was brought here for. Nelson Aguilar catching a few good ones. Corey Clement again catching a few good. So again, very solid win for the Eagles here. It had its mistakes. It had its times where the Eagles like they should have scored there or whatever. It had times where they were stopped at the goal line, and you would have thought, maybe, but overall, a win that we have to be happy about. And you can't say that about several other notable teams in the league during Week 13. And we're going to discuss right now, and we're going to discuss all that right now on the Tyler Werner Show for top 5 thoughts on the NFL and what was the Week 13 edition. Several notable disappointing games for several notable teams in the NFL right now. As the playoff race is again rounding into full form here in the last quarter of the season. It's like where is the season going? That I don't know. But nevertheless, here we are. Another holiday season down the stretch here in the NFL as well. So, all right, so without further ado, the top 5 thoughts around the NFL. Week 13 edition. And we start thought number 5 with the Chicago Bears falling to the New York Giants in overtime, 30-27. Disappointing loss. Now, of course, they were missing Mitchell Trubisky again, quarterback, who is supposed to be suiting up against the Rams in a big game this week. But nevertheless, a disappointing loss against a Giants team that you would have thought, well, Chicago Bears normally would be able to defeat, but didn't happen that way. Bears are 8-4 still, nevertheless. Giants 4-8. Number 4 thought around the NFL. How about this one? After 5 straight wins, the Indianapolis Colts fail to score at all as they get shut out by the Jacksonville Jaguars. 6-0. That's got to be kind of a stinger, if you will. Really laying an egg in that game, or the Indianapolis Colts. Let's see if they can bounce back, because now they're 6-6. That kind of hurts them in the wild card race a little bit. Even though they still got a decent shot to be a wild card team, but we'll see what happens. That loss hurt them though. Number 3 thought around the NFL. The Green Bay Packers fell to the Arizona Cardinals at Lambeau, 20-17, after a missed Mason Crosby field goal, and ultimately this resulted in the firing of Coach Mike McCarthy after the loss. In my opinion, many people's opinions, a premature firing in the middle of the season, mind you. I know the Packers are pretty much all but done. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, just a down. Maybe they need a little more talent along with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers not having his best year, that's for sure. I mean, still a decent year nevertheless, but I don't know. They don't have it. Last year, Aaron Rodgers missing most of the season. This year, they're not really any good. And it certainly doesn't help when you got Mason Crosby missing a field goal. 3-9 Arizona Cardinals team. That's what the Packers lost to here. And their season, they're just kind of folding up like a lawn chair. Number 2 thought around the NFL. Here's a good one. The Los Angeles Chargers. They didn't disappoint this week, as they came out over to Pittsburgh, defeated them 33-30 to move to 9-3 on the season. Things are looking pretty good for them, because they're locked to be a wild card team. And who knows, down the stretch here, Chiefs are 10-2, but now, knowing what happened, knowing what happened with their star running back, with the immediate release of him, maybe the Chargers can catch the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe they can win that division. Who knows? And they're in position to maybe even get home field advantage if they can keep it rolling, but we'll see what happens. Meanwhile, number one thought around the NFL, I mean, like I said, it shouldn't come as a surprise. The Dallas Cowboys defeat the New Orleans Saints after the New Orleans Saints had 10 straight wins. Let's face it, it was impressive. We got it. Huge win for the Dallas Cowboys. It was number 4 straight. They were 3-5 once upon a time. But that kind of changed. That kind of changed the last several weeks. And who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it that when they were 3-5 down the stretch here, they'd come and beat the New Orleans Saints. Mind you, hold them to 10 points. I mean, in this game, I mean that interception late with Drew. I mean, that's, come on. That, when would that ever? That's like one of the worst interceptions you probably ever see him throw. Disappointing there with Drew Brees at the end. It's just disappointing for but disappointing for the Saints losing the Cowboys there in general. But it was bound to happen sooner or later, right? That's the way I look at it. That's kind of my whole thought about that. Yeah, the Cowboys, they've been playing pretty well. They got a quality win over the Saints because the week before that, Thanksgiving, yeah, Redskins are done. Cowboys should have won that game, and they did. Before that, they almost lose to the Falcons, but they edged them out. And, of course, before that was the disappointing loss to the Philadelphia Eagles, and now here we are, about a month later. And it's time the Eagles return the favor against this Cowboys team and win this game. See, like I said, I mean, might be a field goal win for the Eagles. But I hope I'm not wrong. I wasn't wrong against the Redskins. And even though I was nervous about the Giants game as well, wasn't wrong about that. And I'm kind of nervous about this Dallas Cowboys. So maybe this nervousness will continue to be good. And that the Eagles will go down there with fans nervous back here in Pennsylvania and wherever else. And the Eagles will go down and win the game. Again, the ebb and flow of the NFL season, that's how it works sometimes. Saints, they had 10 straight wins, and then they lose to the Cowboys. The very uncharacteristic offensive performance out of the Saints. I mean, this was the same team that was 1 week blowing out the Bengals 50-some points, and the next week the Eagles put 48 up on them. I mean, it's a Saints offense that usually comes at you in waves. Clunker. I mean, it wasn't a terrible Cowboys team. I'm not taking that away. You know, I'm not going to say that about the Cowboys right now. They put together several wins, but those two teams meet again in the playoffs down in New Orleans. New Orleans wins, without a doubt, to me. So, perfect opportunity for the Eagles. Golden opportunity in a revenge situation. I hope I'm not wrong. Because if they don't win this game, it then also makes the wild card hunt extra difficult. Because then at best they might finish 8-8. And I don't think that's going to be quite good enough. Unless the Vikings lose 3 of their last 4 here. but I have them losing 2. So that's it. Let's see what the Eagles are made of this Sunday. It's a big game. We'll discuss next week on the Tyler Werner Show. Thank everybody for tuning in. Stay warm if you're listening in this chilly southeastern Pennsylvania area that we're and we'll talk we'll talk to you next time on the Tyler Werner Show, and then prepare for what'll be another big game against the Los Angeles Rams. We'll talk to you next time. Everybody have a great rest of your weekend.